Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine. And today we've got a very, very useful lesson for all of you out there.
That's right. We're bringing you part 2 of the What If series, which is a small series.
Small, and it is kind of grammar focused, but it's very, very important because you often want to talk about things that don't happen. We're calling these hypotheticals or conditional statements.
Right. So there are many different types of hypotheticals or conditional statements. So today we're going to be looking at the third conditional, which is probably the hardest one because it uses a little bit of a complex grammar structure.
It's complex, and we're actually talking about things that did not happen and that will not happen, right?
It's impossible to change.
It's impossible to change these because there are things that would have happened in the past but didn't.
Wow, that sounds confusing. Why don't we listen to the dialogue for the first time, and then we'll be back to look at some phrases first.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
Like, for example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
All right, so two guys, talking about life.
I imagine these guys as being, middle age or a little bit older, sitting on a porch, drinking a beer, talking about what could have been.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of thinking about the past and
the decisions they have made.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so before we start in the grammar, why don't we take a look at a couple of different phrases on Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
Well, Marco, this first phrase is a phrase you'll hear very often in English. It's a phrase that even has philosophical roots, something we talked a lot about when we were studying Socrates back in school. But this is the good life.
The good life. We have the good life, or
Right.
I have a good life.
I have a good life is a very common phrase, but here the good life is an idiom. So I'm living the good life. Means, I have no complaints about my life.
Right, so pretty much you have all your necessities covered.
And maybe you have a nice family and you have a good job and you're just happy. So this is the good life.
Very good. So you have the good life. Now, moving on to another phrase that's kind of also philosophical, it says everything happens for a reason.
All right. So this phrase is, it's also pretty common. People say this when bad things happen, but they
Right.
also say this when good things happen.
Yeah. So basically, you're just saying that it's destiny. If this bad thing happened to you, there is a reason for it. Maybe you don't see it now, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe later you'll see why.
This often happens when people lose their jobs. You say, everything happens for a reason. Maybe losing this job will allow you to find a better job.
Or maybe go back to school and study.
Or maybe meet the man or woman of your dreams.
Right, so everything happens for a reason. Very good. And then the guy agrees and says, well, I'll drink to that.
Okay, so this is a way for people speaking English to say, listen, I agree with you. I like that idea. And I will cheers.
Cheers, right.
Right? So this means we're going to touch our glasses or touch our beer bottles and we're going to, think about how this is it's a nice thought, Everything happens for a reason is positive. It's a way to say, listen, good things can happen from this.
Right.
So he's saying, yes, I agree. Cheers.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
All right. Well, pretty interesting phrases. They're very common, I guess, like colloquial, right? So you can use them in everyday conversation with a friend.
You can. And, oftentimes we say, for example, something really positive like, I'm really glad I have such great friends. And then everyone says, oh, I'll drink to that. Right. And so this is something you'll hear when you're out with friends or with family. And they may sound funny at first, but you will recognize them when you're speaking to people who speak English.
All right. So let's listen to our dialogue again, and then we'll come back and explain the grammar.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
Like, for example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
Beep, beep, beep.
All right, so now it's time for grammar breakdown.
Grammar breakdown.
So in grammar breakdown, we're going to look at the two main parts of these phrases that allow us to talk about things that didn't happen. So we're talking about looking back at our life and seeing what decisions and what actions we made. And in this case, we have a great sentence here. If I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist.
All right, so let's look at the first part before the comma. If I hadn't studied architecture, so now we have the conditional if.
So Marco, big question. Did he study architecture?
He did.
He did. So if I hadn't studied architecture, it means I did study architecture. But if I had not studied it, okay, so this is if I could change the past, then what would I have done?
I would have become an artist.
Okay, so he wanted to be an artist, but he didn't become an artist. He studied architecture instead.
Right.
Okay,
Very
so
good.
you can see the two parts here. We have one, the condition, if I hadn't done this thing. And then afterwards, we have the result. Then I would have become an artist. So this is the hypothetical.
Very good. And when we see the condition, you see the the structure of the sentence is had plus verb in past participle. So if I hadn't studied architecture, and this is called the past perfect, right? And then the result, as you said, would have become. This is the present perfect, have or has plus verb in past participle. Let's look at another example. I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town.
Okay, so we've got the same idea here, but we've got it flipped. We've got these two parts in different places. And so he's pretty much saying, if I hadn't moved to this town, then I wouldn't have gotten married. But what did happen? He did move to this town, and he did get married.
Exactly. So then, yeah, like you say, he changed the condition, and you can do this. You can put the condition in the beginning or at the end. And again, the structure is the same. I would have gotten married, right? Have gotten, this is present perfect, have or has, depending on the subject, plus the verb in past participle. And then the past perfect or the condition had plus verb in past participle, hadn't moved to this town. All right?
That's a lot of grammar.
It's a lot of grammar, but it's very easy once you just start using it. Don't think too much about, okay, what do I do here? Just, if you get the rhythm and you start using it in the same way, then it kind of comes out naturally. And if you make a little mistake, there's not a big deal because even we do it,
Exactly. Well, let's try a couple of examples off the top of our heads. First of all, if I hadn't moved to China, I wouldn't have learned Chinese.
Very good. So you did move to China and you did learn Chinese.
Exactly. So your turn.
All right. If my parents hadn't spoken Spanish to me when I was a kid, I wouldn't have become fluent in Spanish.
Okay, so your parents did speak Spanish to you, and you did become fluent in Spanish,
yes.
So not bad.
Right. As you can see, you can use it not only to think about things in the past that you can't change anymore, but just also, kind of remember or say, oh, if this hadn't happened, the result.
Or if I hadn't opened my big mouth, my best friend wouldn't have gotten so angry at me.
Exactly.
So I said something stupid, and my friend did get angry, and now I feel bad about it.
It happens. All right, very good. So I hope it's clear. It does sound a little bit complicated, but this is what our website is for, right? So if you have questions or doubts or you want to try and plant your own ideas, you can come to the website and do it.
Want to make some of your own sentences and practice some of these new things, then come to our website, post some comments, and we are happy to correct and add our own commentary on those.
Exactly. So before we go, let's listen to this dialogue one last time.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
Like, for example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
All right, we're back. So, Catherine, any other regrets maybe in your life apart from opening your mouth?
Any other regrets? If my parents had spoken Spanish to me as a kid, I would have learned. But instead, I just learned English, and that's all.
Well, your mom is half Swedish, right?
Half Swedish, half Czech.
So, and she never spoke any of these languages to you?
She didn't speak Swedish or Czech. Her parents spoke English as their common language.
Oh, really?
But she grew up speaking Italian and German. But she didn't speak to me in those languages. And then as an adult, she forgot some of them. And so, because my dad, well, they're both Americans now, but my dad's American. They just spoke English to me.
Wow. But now you speak Italian, so do you ever try and talk to your mom in Italian?
Sometimes. My grandmother's Italian is much better, so my grandmother's completely fluent, so I speak to her in Italian.
Oh, wow.
And German as well. She's fluent in German too, and I studied German at school. So
see, this is the interesting thing now. So many people are speaking so many languages, and before, if you spoke another foreign language, it was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's like a requirement. You have to at least dominate your own native language and a foreign language, right? So if your native language is English, you at least have to speak Spanish or Chinese or some other language.
Definitely true. And I think there are a lot of people, a lot of our users that speak maybe 2 or 3 languages, and English is just one more. So, more power to them. This is a really great skill to have, and I think it's really important to keep on going with it, even though it's frustrating sometimes.
Right. And actually, once you've once you mastered 2 or 3 different languages, then the 4th and 5th just becomes easier.
Actually, it's true. It sounds funny when you hear it because you're like, how could it be easier to learn more? But your brain starts to understand patterns better. Yeah. Right? And so it just becomes more natural for you. It
picks up patterns from the 2 or 3 other different languages that you dominate. So it's strange how the brain works.
Connections. Yeah.
Hello back and welcome to our podcast. My name is Erica, and I'm so happy to have you here. I'm not alone, I have my wonderful friend with me. Together, we'll explore something very exciting called the language of possibilities. It's all about how our words and thoughts can open doors to new chances and dreams. Catherine, how are you today?
Hi, Erica. I'm doing great, and I'm excited about today's topic. The language of possibilities is like a special way of thinking. It helps us believe that many things can happen even when life feels hard. When we use positive words and ideas, our mind starts seeing more options. It's like adding light to a dark room. You suddenly notice paths you didn't see before.
Yes, Catherine, focusing on what can happen gives us strength. When we believe there are possibilities, our mind becomes more creative. We begin to look for answers instead of problems. Imagine a door locked in front of you. If you believe there's no key, you stop trying. But if you believe a key exists, you keep searching until you find it. That's the power of hope.
I like that example, Erica. It shows how our attitude can change everything. Sometimes the biggest barrier is not the situation, but the way we think about it. When we believe there is a solution, we start seeing more choices. The language of possibilities is like planting seeds in a garden. The more we plant positive thoughts, the more they can grow and give us results.
Exactly, and those seeds are often simple words we choose every day. When we say things like I can, I will try, or it's possible, we give ourselves a chance to succeed. Even if we make mistakes, these words keep us moving forward. On the other hand, negative words like I can't or it's too hard close the door before we even walk through it.
That's why learning this special language is so important. It's not only about speaking positive words, but also about believing them. When we tell ourselves, I will find a way, our brain starts working harder to find solutions. It's like turning on a light in a dark room suddenly. You see more opportunities around you, and that gives you energy to keep going.
Yes, Catherine, when we believe in possibilities, we unlock our hidden power. Sometimes we don't realize how strong we are until we challenge ourselves. Think about learning something new, like English. At first, it feels difficult, but when you keep telling yourself, I can do this, your mind becomes open, and step by step, you start to improve and grow.
That's right, Erica. Small steps are the key. Big changes don't happen overnight, but positive language keeps us moving forward. If we tell ourselves, I'll never learn, we stop trying. But if we say, I'm learning a little every day, we stay motivated. The language of possibilities helps us see progress instead of problems, and that makes us stronger inside.
Exactly, Catherine. The words we choose shape the way we feel and act. When we speak with hope and confidence, we begin to trust ourselves more. It's like climbing a mountain. If you keep looking at how high it is, you feel scared. But if you focus on each step, you realize you're closer to the top. Positive words give us courage to keep going.
And courage is very important when we face challenges. Life always has difficulties, but the language of possibilities reminds us that there's always another way forward. When we use hopeful words, we open our heart to new ideas. Instead of saying, I'm stuck, we can say, I'll find a way. This small change helps us create better paths for our future.
Yes, Catherine, saying I'll find a way gives us energy to keep moving. Life becomes easier when we focus on solutions, not just problems. The language of possibilities teaches us to see doors instead of walls. Every time we choose positive words, we give ourselves hope, and that hope can guide us through difficult moments, even when the path feels uncertain.
Exactly, Erica. Hope is like a light that shows us new directions. When we believe there's always a chance, we become stronger and more creative. For example, if you fail at something, you can say, I can try again instead of I can't do this. That small change in language helps you learn from mistakes and turn challenges into opportunities to grow.
And the more we practice, the easier it becomes to think this way. Using positive words every day can slowly change how we see ourselves and the world around us. It's like training a muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets. Soon, we naturally begin to choose hope over fear and possibilities over limits. That's how real confidence starts to grow.
Yes, and confidence helps us take action. Sometimes we wait for the perfect moment, but the language of possibilities shows us that we can begin right now. Instead of saying, I'm not ready, we can say, I'm ready to try. When we change our words, we change our attitude, and that simple shift can open doors we never imagined before.
Yes, Catherine, saying I'm ready to try is so powerful. Every big dream begins with a small step. The language of possibilities reminds us that we don't need to be perfect. We only need to start. When we change our words, we change our actions. And when we change our actions, we create new chances to grow, to learn, and to achieve more than we ever imagined.
Exactly, Erica. Life becomes more exciting when we focus on what we can do instead of what we can't. Possibilities are everywhere, but we notice them only when we believe they exist. Each positive thought we choose gives us more strength and motivation. The language of possibilities helps us trust ourselves and keep moving forward, even when things feel uncertain.
And the best part is, anyone can learn this language. It doesn't matter where you're from, how old you are, or what challenges you face. The words we choose every day shape the life we create. By speaking with hope, we open doors to opportunities we never thought possible. Step by step, this positive way of thinking helps us build a better future.
That's beautifully said, Erica. We hope today's talk inspires everyone listening to believe in their own possibilities. Remember, every day is a chance to begin again, to try, and to grow. And don't forget we make ready a short story about this lesson. Are you ready to listen to this story? If you are ready, let's go.
Hi, welcome. Are you ready to listen to our story? Imagine sitting quietly on your balcony, looking at the sunset, and suddenly you begin to think, what if my life had been different? This is the idea of the third conditional in English. It helps us talk about things that did not happen in the past, but we sometimes imagine. For example, you might say, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. Notice how we use had plus past participle after if and, then would have plus past participle for the result. These sentences allow us to explore regrets or dreams, but also teach us important lessons. If you say, if I hadn't forgotten my umbrella, I wouldn't have gotten wet, you are thinking about a mistake, but also learning from it. This structure gives you power to express reflection and wisdom. Life is full of choices, and English gives us the language to describe those missed chances. There are also useful everyday expressions linked to this. People often say, everything happens for a reason, when they want to stay positive about the past. Or they say, I'll drink to that to show agreement with a good thought. These phrases make your English sound natural, friendly, and real. So, when you practice this grammar, don't just think of rules connected to your own life. Think about your choices. If I had joined that club, I would have met new friends. Or, if I had saved more money, I would have traveled last summer. Practice these examples and soon you'll feel confident speaking about the past in a deep, meaningful way. Think about this. Sometimes people sit together and share memories, and they begin to wonder, how would life have turned out if things had been different? This is exactly where the third conditional comes alive. It lets us paint an alternative picture of the past. For example, if I hadn't moved to this city, I wouldn't have met my best friend. The truth is, you did move, but English gives you the words to imagine the opposite path. These sentences are not only grammar, they are windows into human experience. When someone says, if I had studied medicine, I would have become a doctor, we learn about their dreams and the direction their life actually took. You can use this to tell stories, to explain your regrets, or even to celebrate your luck. It's a way to connect feelings with language. Useful expressions often appear in these conversations. One is now that I think of it, which introduces a sudden realization. For instance, now that I think of it, if I had joined the drama club, I would have gained more confidence. Another is no regrets, which people say when they want to show they accept the past as it is. These small phrases make your English richer and more natural. Practice by making sentences about yourself. Ask, if I had done something differently, what would my life look like today? Write them down. Say them aloud. The more you practice, the more natural they will feel. Soon, you will be able to use the third conditional not only as a grammar tool, but as a powerful way to tell your life story in English. Imagine you are telling a story to a close friend. You want to show how one small action changed everything. That's when the third conditional becomes powerful. You might say, if I hadn't missed the bus, I wouldn't have met the stranger who later became my business partner. In one sentence, you explain the past, the chance event, and the big result. This structure is perfect for showing how life can change from tiny details. To build these sentences, always remember the pattern. If plus had plus past participle, then would have plus past participle. For example, if I had prepared better, I would have done well in the interview, These aren't just grammar drills, they are tools to explain success, mistakes, and even lucky accidents. The beauty is that you can mix positive and negative feelings. If I had spoken more kindly, my friend wouldn't have been upset. There are also natural phrases that connect smoothly with this type of talk. For instance, people say it turns out when they discover the real result of a situation. Example, I thought I failed, but it turns out I did great. Another is could have been, which expresses lost possibilities. That could have been the best job of my life if I had applied. These expressions give life to your English, making it sound emotional and real. Try practicing with personal memories. Think of school, friendships, or family. Say, if I had joined the sports team, I would have stayed healthier. Or, if I had spoken up in class, I would have learned more. These reflections are not only grammar practice, they are lessons about choices, growth, and the importance of seizing moments. When you learn to speak like this, your English becomes more than words, it becomes a voice for your life experiences. Every life has turning points, and the third conditional is the perfect way to talk about them. Think of moments when you look back and say, if I had chosen differently, my path would have changed. For example, if I had saved more money, I would have traveled the world by now. These sentences don't change the past, but they help us reflect, dream, and learn from our experiences while practicing advanced English naturally. The structure gives you to clear parts, the condition, and the result. You can also flip the order without changing the meaning. For example, I would have passed the exam if I had studied harder. This flexibility makes your English sound smooth, just like native speakers. To make it even richer, use everyday phrases. Expressions such as everything happens for a reason show acceptance, while no regret shows strength and peace with past choices. Another powerful phrase is looking back. For instance, looking back, if I had practiced guitar more, I would have become a better musician. These words open the door to storytelling, where you not only practice grammar, but also connect emotionally with your listener. That's why using the third conditional is not just about rules, it's about sharing wisdom. So try this. Write 3 sentences about your own past. One about a missed chance, one about a lucky event, and one about a regret. Practice saying them out loud, and imagine you're sharing them with a friend. You'll see how naturally your English grows. Thank you for being a part of Best English Podcast Zone.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. To think about.
Wonder.
A person who designs buildings.
Architect.
To end up like.
Turn out.
To ruin or destroy something, like a car.
Wreck.
Used to express a realization.
Now that I think of it.
A feeling of guilt.
Remorse.
To feel sad or sorry about something.
Regret.
To think deeply about something.
Ponder.
A happy and relaxed life.
Good life.
To think fondly about the past.
Reminisce.
An alternative scenario.
Could have been.
The art and science of designing buildings.
Architecture.
A sudden event that is not planned.
Accident.
Let's try that faster. A person who designs buildings.
Architect.
A feeling of guilt.
remorse,
To end up like.
turn out,
A happy and relaxed life.
good life,
To feel sad or sorry about something.
regret,
An alternative scenario.
could have been,
The art and science of designing buildings.
architecture,
To think about.
wonder,
Used to express a realization.
now that I think of it,
To ruin or destroy something, like a car.
wreck,
To think deeply about something.
ponder,
To think fondly about the past.
reminisce,
A sudden event that is not planned.
accident,
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
wonder, I wonder what Mike is doing in his room. I think he's building a time machine or something. Wonder, I wonder why Debbie kicked her husband out of the house. Wonder, we often wonder and ask ourselves why we continue to spend money on useless things. Turn out, our house turned out beautifully. The architect is very talented. Turn out, I'm curious to see how everything will turn out in the next few days. Turn out, it turns out Bob was right. I really do have a drinking problem. Now that I think of it, actually, now that I think of it, I do have a lawnmower you could borrow. Now that I think of it, wait, now that I think of it, you owe me $100. Now that I think of it, now that I think of it, I should have behaved better at the party. Regret, you can't live your life with regrets. Stay positive and optimistic. Regret, do you have any regrets in life? Regret, I regret to inform you that your dog will never walk again. If I hadn't gone skiing, I wouldn't have broken my leg. If Ellie had studied harder, she would have passed the exam. They wouldn't have missed their flight if they had left home earlier.